was looking at some magazines, some advertisements this last weekend, getting ready for Christmas, and I got an education that I didn't even realize that I needed, but I got it anyways. I found out that if I wanted to be a man and really just, step up my manhood, that I needed to ditch my Bally's membership and go for the Powerhouse Gym membership, and if I did that, then I would really be the man that I was created to be. I also found out that if I wanted to be stylish, that I needed to go after the BMW 7 Series luxury sedan, because my old minivan, it just ain't cutting it. And then I figured out that if I wanted to be hip and ready for Christmas this year, that I needed to hit the Macy's 13-hour one-day sale. But the problem with that was that it was last Friday and I missed it altogether, so I am completely bummed because I'm not going to be ready for Christmas this year. Then I read I needed the $2,500 Perfect Comfort sleeper set, but I only have the standard comfort sleeper set, and so I've been a little disappointed with my sleep lately. And then I found out that I needed the $50 letter opener from Cutco Knives, but I only use the old-fashioned butter knife, and so I've been a little less enthusiastic about my mail. And then I found out something very shocking, that the only fresh Mex available anymore is on the border, but the problem is it's up in Southfield, and I don't get up to Southfield very often, so to be honest, I've been kind of bummed out about my Taco Bell experiences lately. And then I found out that the only way to really unwind and relax with my family would be at the Hilton hotels, but I called and tried to put in a reservation, but they were booked, so I was kind of a little upset about that. And then to top it all off, I found out that the only way to express true love for my wife was to get her a diamond-studded necklace from Zales, but I looked into it, and truthfully, I just couldn't afford the thing, But they did say, though, I found out that I could still be romantic with my wife as long as I had Sylvania light bulbs. And I saw that in a Lowe's ad, and as they say, Lowe's really knows. Well, the truth of the matter is, after I kind of spent all this time looking at these magazines and advertisements, I realized I must be the most unhappy, unfulfilled person walking the planet. And so we come to number 10 on God's Big 10 list, and it deals with what I was feeling after looking at all those advertisements. It's the one about coveting. It's one about envy and jealousy. It says this, that we should not covet our neighbor's home, our neighbor's wife, which is a bad thing, our neighbor's servants, anything that our neighbor has. Exodus 20, verse 17. Now, this idea of coveting, we don't talk about this word very often. We don't use this word very often. It's a very interesting word, though. When we think of coveting, we think of desire. We think of desiring something or wanting something. But what's interesting about it is that the Bible nowhere ever says that it's wrong to desire something or to feel like you want something in life. Nowhere does the Bible ever condemn having ambitions. Never does it say you can't run after something or go after something. But here's where the red flags come up. It says that anytime that we think that these things, these desires, if we become so possessed by them that we think that we cannot be happy aside from them or apart from them, that's the problem. Do you see the difference? It's not the desire. It's the thinking that only when I have this or that thing in my life, or this person or that person in my life, will I ever be happy. And you say, whoa, this isn't me, but I don't know, maybe it is. I think maybe it is, because people all the time, they go into debt and they just bury themselves to have something that they really can't afford, or they run so hard after a relationship only to get that relationship and to end up having to destroy their lives. It's this whole idea of envy and jealousy and lack of contentment in our life. It's called coveting. It's called coveting. Now, what's really interesting about the 10th commandment is that it's different than all the other commandments. All the other commandments have some sort of external evidence that's associated with them. You can see when somebody's trying to honor their parents, or you can see when somebody's trying to not steal something or to tell the truth, or you can see when somebody's not a murderer. But this idea of not coveting, this commandment is totally different because it deals with what's going on inside of us. It's a heart issue. So is this really that big of a deal? Why does God get upset with this idea of coveting? I mean, is it really that wrong to want something thinking it will make you happy? Because if you're like me, there are things that you want that you think are going to make you happy. I mean, is it really wrong to think that buying that bigger house will make you happy? Or, getting that BMW 7 Series is going to make you happy? Or that new outfit going to make you happy? Is it really that bad of an idea to think that getting something is going to make us happy? Well, let's poke around at this idea a little bit, because I think the answer is maybe. I think maybe it is really wrong to think that. Because the first idea when I think of coveting or envy or jealousy is that it is notorious for leading people into what we call sin. It's notorious for leading people away from the heartbeat of God. You think about this, that it's those kinds of desires, it's those kinds of attitudes, if left unchecked, that really drag us away from the heartbeat of God. You think of a relationship, it's that unchecked yearning for a relationship that often leads us into an adulterous relationship or a sexual immorality. If you think about the idea of money and what money can bring, it's that desire sometimes for money, if left unchecked, that can cause us to steal or to enter into unethical business practices. Or maybe it's the idea that says, I want people to think something bigger or better of me, or I want to seem more important than I really am, that can cause people to lie. And the Bible speaks about this very, very clearly, that if our desires, if they go unchecked, unrestrained, can lead us into sin. And the book of James speaks about this when it says this, chapter 1, verses 14 and 15, it says this, it says, "Temptation comes from our own desires, which entice us, which drag us away. These desires give birth to sinful actions, and when sin is allowed to grow, it gives birth to death." I heard this story of this guy who went to his pastor because he was really struggling with some stuff deep inside him, and he was a country guy, and he described his struggle like this. He said, "There's like two teams of horses pulling at me," and he says, "One team of horses is pulling me toward loving God and honoring God and doing what is right." He said, "The other team of horses is pulling me away in a whole different direction toward things that will destroy my relationship with God." And the pastor was, he was really interested in this. He says, "So what team of horses is winning?" And the young man thought for a second. He goes, "Whatever team I say giddy up to." Listen, when it comes to our relationship with God, if we have desire, if it's left unrestrained and unchecked in our life, the truth of the matter is it will lead us into this thing called sin. And sin, the Bible is very clear, will separate us from our relationship with God. So coveting is notorious for leading us into sin, but it's more than that. It has a bigger problem than that. The problem is it won't deliver the goods. It never does. We think that it will, but it ultimately leaves us empty when we get those goods anyways. And you would think that we would understand this by now, because we've been dealing with this since we were kids, right? When I was a kid, I wanted this Hot Wheels series Dukes of Hazzard race car kit made by Hot Wheels, where it had the loop-de-doo in the middle of it. I don't know if you ever saw that when you were a kid, but it was awesome. It had this plastic track that had this loop in the middle, and you would take the cars and put on this track, and it had these spring-loaded gates, and if you timed it just right, you could get that car just flying around that kit. And this kit had all the cars that were like replicas from the TV show, and of course the General Lee was the best. And I just knew that I wanted this for Christmas, and if I didn't get it, I would die. I mean, it would like end my life. And so I don't know about how it was in your house growing up, but my parents would like say to us kids, like, look at the catalogs and pick out the gifts, and we would literally, circle, all the things we wanted, and we would cut out the advertisements that we thought were good. And we had like a little numbering system, priority system, which one would be our top gift and which one would be number 2 and 3 and 4, and we would circle the prices. And I remember that this year, I just knew that the Dukes of Hazzard loop-de-doo race car kit, was the top of the deal. And so I tore that out, made sure that they knew where they could get it, where they got the best price, the whole 9 yards. Well, then when Christmas morning rolled around, we would get up like at 5:30 in the morning, us 4 kids, we would wait outside their doors patiently until a reasonable time would roll around, and then around 5:45, we would just pounce on their bed, and we would like just, say, "It's time to get up, time to get up," and then of course they would get up. Well, long before this Christmas, my parents did something I just thought was cruel and unusual punishment.